everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to see how we can read data from an XML column using a SQL query. So let's get started. The first example that we are going to take is to read data from a variable. So first step is declaring a variable. So declare add XML column, and the data type that we are going to put for this variable is XML. Next, we are going to set a value for this variable. So I'm just going to use the set keyword at XML column equal to, and I already have this value. This value is also available on the Microsoft website. So where you have the tutorial or the description for this particular function or how to read data from an XML column, you have these values over there. I will also be putting them in the description links. So we have this value. This is an XML data that you can see over here. You can see that there are some nodes and there are some attributes. So it starts with root, then you have some product description, you have product ID and product name within that description, you have features, warranty, and so on. So what is a requirement in this case is, let's say, to get the data of product ID. So we can see that for getting the data for product ID, we have to navigate from root to product description to product ID. So how can we do that? That is what we are going to see. So there are certain functions that SQL Server provides that can be used to read data of the XML data type. And the first function that we are going to use is the DotValue function. So we first need to specify the column that has the XML data type. So add XML call, then do a dot value, a single quote, again round brackets. And now within these round brackets, we are going to provide the path which we need to navigate to product ID. So we start with root within the brackets. We start with root. And we should not be forgetting the slashes, forward slashes, root slash, then we need to go to product description, again a slash, and then we need to go to product ID. So that's, we have to use add to go to product ID, add product ID. Now this is our path, so close your round brackets, and then SQL Server has a singleton rule, something called a singleton rule, which means that you have to specify a unique instance that needs to be picked up, unique instance of the attribute on node. So for example, let's say there were multiple attributes called product ID over here, then it would have picked up only the first instance. So every time you use the dot values function, you have to give that singleton instance, which means within square brackets, you have to write a 1. That means that it is going to pick up the first occurrence in case there were multiple occurrences of product ID in our XML data. Close my quotes over here, and then you have to give a comma and pass the second argument to the dot value function. The second argument is going to specify the data type of the output that you're expecting. Now this product ID, you can see it's a numeric column. So we can say an integer. So that is what I'm going to put over here, an integer, and that should be giving me the output. Now you can not just say integer, you can already see there's an error that is being suggested. So you have to provide this within single quotes as well. So now there's no error. If I run this SQL statement, I should be getting the value of product ID. So I'm just going to execute this whole part. There's no need to select it as I just did. You can just go and execute. And you can see that we have the output, which was 1 over here, over in our output after the SQL query. Now, I'm just going to do this once again because I know this is very confusing. So I'm just going to do this once again. And instead of picking up the product ID, this time I'm going to pick up warranty. So I'm going to get the value of warranty, which is further down in the notes. So you can see we have to navigate from root to product description to features and then to warranty. So I'm just going to repeat this. So what we did is did a select, and then we selected the column which was the original column of the XML data type, so XML call. We use the function .value over here. Then we use the round brackets. Within the round bracket, we gave a single quote. So let's give the first single quote and ending single quote. Within this single quote, we need to give one more pair of round brackets, and here we need to specify the whole path, the navigated path, which will give us the value of warranty. So the path for us with the slashes, forward slashes, is going to be root. Then we have to go to product description. Then we have to go to features, and then we have to go to warranty, and then we have to, okay, I didn't end the warranty. We have to implement the singleton rule, for which we have to write a 1 within square brackets, and then we have to pass the second argument. Now the second argument in this case is going to be a string value, so varchar, you can pass 100 maybe. So we have passed, okay, we need to put one more bracket over here and our quotes. So this is the statement that we are going to execute over here, and this should give us the correct result. So I'm just going to execute the SQL statement right over here. We have our brackets wrong, as you can see over here. So remove the bracket from here. We have to end the bracket here, so we ended it at the wrong place. You can see that. Now I'm going to execute this once again. So what's the other error? Can you find the other error over here? This is case sensitive. This should be in caps over here. Executing again, and you can see that I have the value over here. So in the next example, we are going to read the XML column from a table. So I'm going to work with the AdventureWorks database, which is the Microsoft database, and I will provide the link below from where you can download. And if you need some help in downloading, then I'll provide the video link below also, which will guide you on how to download this database. So there's a table called product. So let's start from production dot product. Okay, so the table is actually product model, and it has got a column in the table which is of the XML type. So if you go to this column, catalog description and instructions, also we can see some XML data, but we are going to work with catalog description. So I'm just going to put one more filter where catalog description is not null. Now let's do a select, and you can see that there's some rows for which there's some data. Now this is XML data. I'm just going to click on any one of these, and it will open up all the data that is provided here. So what we are trying to understand here is that there is something called XML namespace over here. So when you define XML data, there's an option define a namespace that just list all the structural limitations on which attributes and nodes you can use in your XML data. So this is the link for this namespace, and you can see that there is not just one namespace, there are multiple namespaces. So you can have multiple namespaces in your XML data. So product model description, product model warranty, and main, and they have this short abbreviated form like WM and P1. So if you go to the XML data, you will see that this is referring to this P1.summary, so this particular namespace, and so on. So you will know what kind of data is here. You can see this is WM, which means the warranty data is referring to another namespace, which is the one that we just saw. So now here what we are going to do is we are going to check the data for this particular column, and we are going to pick up the product model ID. So the product model ID, if we go over here, you will see that the product model ID is right over here. So we are trying to pick up the value from here, the product model ID value from this particular XML column. So to refer to a column or even a variable which has a namespace defined, you need to include that namespace in your values argument. So let's start writing a query to pick up the data for the model ID attribute. So the data is in the catalog description column. So what we are going to see, what we are going to say is catalog description dot value, then our round brackets. Now the first thing that we have to specify now is the namespace. So I'm going to go back to my XML column, XML data, and copy this namespace definition from here for product model description, because that is the one that we're going to use. We're not using the warranty information right now. Put a quotes and say declare namespace PD equals the value that we had over here, and then you have to put semicolon, and then going back to our XML data, let's see how it is framed. So you have your product description, and in your product description you have your product model ID. So now the way we have to write this is on the pair of round brackets and start defining our location. So we have to first say PD /PD, which is referring to our namespace, colon, product description over here. So we are going to write this product description, and again a / and the value of product model ID. So the column, the exact attribute name is right over here. Product model ID, and close your round brackets and apply the singleton rule because we are still using the DotValues function. So 1 within square brackets, close your quotes, and pass on the second argument. Again, this is going to be an integer, so we are just going to pass integer within, make sure that it is within quotes. So this is our entire SQL statement now, and it should be fetching us the value of product model ID from the XML column catalog description in the table production.product model. So we are just going to execute this query first and see what is the result. Let's remove the star from here. And you can see that these are the results. So 19, 23, and so on. So here the value was 23 and so on. So this is how you can fetch a data from an XML column from a table as well, which includes a namespace. So what was different in this case? First of all, we declared the namespace along with the path of the namespace. Then we had a semicolon, and then we started declaring the path again within round brackets. So after the namespace, the abbreviated namespace, you have to use a colon, then your path and the singleton rule, the second argument of the data type of the output, and so on. So you just need to practice a little bit and take care of where to use the colons or semicolons or double quotes or single quotes and that stuff, but it's pretty straightforward. It seems complicated, but it is pretty straightforward. Now we are going to use another function which is used to work with XML data, and that is .exist. So we are going to use this function to check for the existence of a particular attribute in our XML data. So let's say we want only those catalog description values to be there in the result which have an associated warranty attribute with them in the XML data. So you can see that the warranty is over here. This is your line for warranty, and it is referring to a different namespace. So now we are going to use this as a filter condition. So we are going to include it in the where clause. So what we are going to say is and this is a column which we are checking. So catalog description, and instead of using .value, this time we are going to use .exist, and again your round brackets. And now again we need to define our namespaces. So the first namespace is going to be the same that we defined over here. So I'm just going to copy that part from here. So we're going to define our namespaces. So we defined the first namespace, and we need to define one more namespace because warranty over here is referring to another namespace, the WM namespace over here. So first of all, I'm just going to copy this, and then I'm going to change the path. So declare PD, we already declared PD. Here I'm going to declare WM and copy the path from here. So this is the path, And we're just going to put this here. And you can remove your single quotes from here. So these are the two namespaces. Just make sure we have a single pair of double quotes. So these are the two namespaces, and now we need to define the path for till the warranty. So to define that path, the path is product description, then we go down to features. So warranty is within features, we can see that. So product description, then within product description we have to go to features, and then we have to go to warranty. So that is going to be our path. That is what we are going to define over here now. So PD and colon and product description, then / again PD colon features, again / and this time we are going till warranty, which is referred by the namespace WM. So WM colon and warranty. And we are saying that at least a single occurrence of warranty occurs. So what we now need to do is say equal to 1. So this is implying that we have a single occurrence of warranty. Only then we need to fetch that catalog description. So now I'm going to execute this again. And we have the warranty descriptions in all of them. So we have the same 6 rows in the output. So we will take another example using another table where we can see the result of this exists clause, because all the XML columns will not have that particular data on which we are going to filter. But before that, one thing if you observed here was that declaring these namespaces and defining them again and again in the query is a bit tedious. So what we can do instead of defining them multiple times over here is we can define them a single time using the with XML namespaces option. So what we can do instead of doing this again and again is say with XML namespaces and copy this namespace definition, and within single quote we have to put this definition. So this is going to be your definition, and give it a name. So as PD, close your brackets, give a comma, and I'm going to define another namespace WM. And then to define the other namespace, you can just use a comma to define the other namespace, and this is the other namespace for warranty. Put it within single quotes and give it a name as WM. And then you can write your select query over that. So instead of writing this big query, if you just copy this query over here. So instead of writing it over here as declare namespace, you can totally skip this declaring part. So you don't need to declare it over here now. And same way over here, you don't need to declare it. So you can take out those parts, and now you can see it's a very simple query. Just execute this whole part together and you will get the same result. So now this is much neater and much cleaner and more easy to understand. So you can use the with XML namespaces and make it a simpler query. So now let's take example with another table, person table, which also has some XML data. Again, it is a table from the AdventureWorks database. So you can use select star from person.person. So here, if you scroll through the right, there is a column called demographics. So when I've clicked on the first row, first description, we had only this much data. So simple data, only total purchase year to date. And another demographic had more data. So here we are going to use some more aware criteria, and it will filter out our data. So I'm going to write the same queries on this table on demographics column now, and we're going to make it simple because otherwise it's very complicated. Now in this case we have just one namespace, so it's easier for us. I'm just going to copy this namespace and use our with XML namespaces. So with XML namespaces, brackets, write your namespace within quotes and give it an alias. So as, let's say, namespace, and then write your query. So select. So we have a column called occupation here. In the first one, we had total purchase year to date. So let's use this column total purchase year to date because that might exist in many of the records. So I'm just going to take this. This is an integer column. So we are going to get the value for this column. So to get the value, because our XML data type column is demographics, so we have to use that column demographics dot value, and we already have the namespace. So what we need to do is just define using that namespace. So ns colon, and let's go back. So it is individual survey, and then you have total purchase YTD. Individual survey, and then ns total purchase YTD, and this has to be within round brackets. So round brackets over here, and now you have to refer to the singleton rule. So one over here and close your single brackets, single quotes over here. So this is going to give you the value, and here you have to specify the data type. So this is going to be an integer column. So that is what we have specified over here. So that is what we are going to select from person table, where demographics dot exists. Now we are going to use the exist option. Let's go back and see what we can check on. Let's say where the gender is male. Let's check on a particular value where the value of gender is equal to M. So again, we can use the same path. So I'm just going to copy it here. And instead of total purchase YTD, here we have to use gender. I'm just going to change that to gender. And since we are not using the values here, there is no singleton rule, so you do not need to use here within the square brackets. Now, because we are checking on a particular value, so how we need to check is put a dot. So we are checking in the gender column and equal to, and the value that you're checking on. Make sure there's no space here, and the value that we are checking on is M. So wherever it is M, so M, close your double quotes over here and remove the space, and this does, and there is one bracket that is needed over here, and we are saying that this exists, so it is going to be equal to 1. So what it means over here is that it is going to check the demographics column, and the demographics column should have an entry for individual survey gender column as M. Even if there's an entry, there's an attribute called gender, but the value is not M, then it is not going to result in the output. So equal to 1 means that at least one row should exist in that particular record. At least one entry for gender equal to M should exist. So conversion failed. So we have not defined the right data type. Let's just change this to varchar 50, and that should solve this error. Execute this again, and now we have got all the values, whatever values were there, we have got in this particular column, which is total purchase YTD. We have got some 9351 rows. So now I'm going to just run it without the where condition that we have, and you can see that there are 19,972 rows. So only those 9,000 something rows had this condition satisfied, and this is how you can use the exist clause to check on these conditions. Now, sometimes when you use the .exist function to check on particular values and you have some spaces, so maybe there was a space here after M or something of that sort, then it might not be fetching you the right result because it will try to match on the exact string that you're passing. So it will match only on a M value, not a M space value. So there's another function also that you can use. So let's just copy this, and it will match on the exact string that you are passing. So it will just match that particular attribute value contains that string that you are passing. So instead of using just a dot equal to M, so we still use the exist function. We just add a contains over here. We put the square bracket and then with the substring that we're trying to find. So contains dot and then there's a different format, so you have to use a comma. You don't use an equal to, you use a comma. So this is how you write it. So instead of gender square brackets dot equal to m, what you write now is you use a contains dot comma m. So if you execute the same query, you will get the same result in our case. So 9351 rows, but this is another way to write. So even if there was a space after this and you just wrote an m, it will just search. It is more like a like. It will search for the whole substring that you have specified over here in your attribute value. So these are some of the functions that you can use for basic querying of XML column data in your database. I know these sound a little bit complicated in terms of the syntax on where to use the brackets and not, but once you write them, you will get used to them. I hope that the video was useful. If it was, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will be posting many more videos very soon. Also, if you want videos on a particular topic, do let us know in the comments below, and we will try our best to make videos on that topic. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye.